3 ESPN. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Thursday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. I am Josh Hennig, live in the Matt Black Kia Studios. Thursday football, the start of NFL Week 14 is tonight. Of course, we got to have a doubleheader of sports action tonight on 97.3 ESPN FM. Sixers versus Jazz at the top of the hour. Tom McGinnis on the call, followed by Steelers and Vikings. You can hear it all right here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, today on the show, we will recap last night's Sixers game. We will get you ready for NFL Week 14, as we do each and every Thursday. Andy McNamara, Sportsnet, NFL, and fantasy sports analyst, joins us at 6:20, and he joins us each week thanks to Jim Malamet at Green Tree Mortgage, your best play to refinance today. So we will get into all that still to come right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, because a lot of you guys, you're getting ready for the postseason. This is the last weekend for most people before their fantasy playoffs. So we want to get you all the information you need. And, of course, the text board is there for you as always. 609-403-0973 is the text board. And you can also DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, thanks to First Bank of Sea City. All right, so before we get to the NFL stuff, because there's a lot to unpack there, I got to start with the Sixers, because they have back-to-back tonight, and we talked about this a little bit earlier on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. I got to bring it back up here. I'm watching the game last night, and I told you guys I needed to see more from the Sixers, and I didn't see it. I am concerned. And I wrote about this at 973ESPN.com. Okay, when we spoke to NBA insider Brendan Scoopy Robinson of Bally Sports on Tuesday, and he used that word, disconcerting, where the Sixers are. I think you saw it again last night. Last night's game was the ultimate example of what is wrong with this team. I am extremely concerned about how this team is going to proceed as currently constructed. Now, I don't think they're going to stay as they are right now. I don't think that the way the way the roster is right now, I don't think this is what you're going to see after the trade deadline. I think Daryl Morey makes at least one move, if not multiple moves. But he has to make moves. Last night, only 3 players finished in double digits in scoring, double figures in scoring. Obviously, Joel Embiid, another big night, 32 points, 15 free throws made last night. So almost half of his points all came from the foul line last night. Tobias Harris had 18 points. Seth Curry, another phenomenal shooting night, 4 for 8 from 3, 23 points. But the rest of the team, they're not scoring double digits. The next highest scorers were Andre Drummond and Shake Milton, both with 8 each. Tyrese Maxey looked like he was still getting over whatever made him sick the other day. And I'm confused what Danny Green's role is right now, because Danny Green is your best perimeter defender at this point, because you have no Simmons. Tyrese Maxey isn't the guy. Shake Milton, Seth Curry, none of you got great perimeter defenders. You took Danny Green off the floor again. I understand he ended the game with 4 fouls, but so did Embiid. Maxey had 3. At some point, Doc's got to go to Danny Green and be like, dude, I need you on the floor. Stop fouling people. I know it's a rough night, but Gordon Hayward is tearing us up. Gordon Hayward turned back the clock about 5 years last night. That was the Gordon Hayward from the Utah Jazz that hit free agency and everybody wanted a piece of him. And I'm watching the game, I'm thinking, second straight game, the 76ers are struggling to beat a team without half their roster, without their best player. and only played 3 guys off the bench. And you struggled to beat him. I understand that Joel Embiid looks like an MVP candidate, which he should be. And I'm sorry, JJ Redick, but you could take your metrics and shove it. I saw JJ Redick on SportsNet last night trying to sell me on Jokic is having the greatest statistical analytics season of all time. I don't care. Joel Embiid is carrying a band of misfit toys right now to games, to wins. He's doing it by himself. And I'm telling you right now, and I'll pull up the exact number, but whatever the number is, I'm taking against the Sixers tonight. Back-to-back, flying home against a team that is clearly better than you. Yeah, Utah is currently favored by -3. Rock with that 3. Sixers lose by probably 6 to 10 points tonight because they don't have the firepower. They don't have the depth. They don't have the defense. And I understand that right here, right now, I can't tell you exactly who they can and can't get via trade, via movement. But as I wrote about at 973ESPN.com, teams are going to get desperate. And there's a lot of desperate teams out there right now. And I understand, to the chagrin of some of you Sixer fans, Damian Lillard again on national TV on SVP SportsCenter said last night that he wants to be in Portland. He wants to stay in Portland. He wants to be a part of the solution moving forward. So you can put away your Lillard gifts and your Lillard photoshops. But what you got to know is that Portland is one of those teams who is desperate to make a move. You have a whole group of teams right now that are looking at themselves in the mirror at this point in the season, and they're wondering, who are we? What are we? What are we doing? Because you look around at the NBA right now, it's not just the Sixers. It's a bunch of teams that all have to make some tough decisions. Sixers, 14-11. The Hawks are 13-12. Boston is 13-13. The Knicks are outside the entire playoff race right now at 12-13. The Pacers are 11-16, and there's talk that they're going to blow up their team. Look out west. The Clippers are waiting for Kawhi to come back, and they're 14-12. The Lakers have had guys in and out of lineup all season long. They're 13-12. The Nuggets are 12-12 with the superstar Jokic. So tired of hearing about that guy. Minnesota is 11-14, and there's reports coming out of Minnesota that the new ownership, Mark Lore and Alex Rodriguez, they are not happy with the on-court product, and they expect more. So Karl Anthony Towns may be happy, but the new owners who spent a ton of money to buy this team and start this transition of ownership are not happy. Sacramento is a dumpster fire that needs to be put out by somebody who has some sort of competence. And as I mentioned, Portland, they got to make some moves, because if Lillard wants to stay and Portland is willing to keep him, and you're going to sign a guy to another supermax contract, you got to surround him with better players. So Ben Simmons comes into play. And if it's a deal that involves 4 teams, which is what I'm certainly expecting, I could see a situation where the Sixers and the Pacers and Minnesota and either Sacramento or Portland or the Spurs even all get together on a massive deal, and you see a ton of players flying different directions, because there's a lot of teams that need to put up or shut up. There's a lot of teams that came into this NBA season expecting to be contenders. Portland being one of them. Minnesota being another. Denver, they're 500 at 12-12. The Sixers at 14-11. The Knicks at 12-13. Boston at 13-13. The Pacers, they brought in Rick Carlisle. They gave Malcolm Brogdon a new contract, and they're 11-16. People are starting to sweat. We're going to find out very soon who's serious about winning and who is a fugazi. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, Game Night being brought to my friends over at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. It's time to experience sports betting done right with live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and more. Get in on all the games you love at the FanDuel Sportsbook, conveniently located right off the boardwalk at Bally's Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I'm telling you, for tonight, Jazz -3. It looks really appealing. I hate saying it, but the Jazz are a much better team right now. Sixers are just played last night. They're flying back to Philadelphia. It's not an ideal situation. Not ideal for the 76ers tonight. You tell me what you think about the Sixers in the NBA as well. Text in 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN. Coming up on the other side, Andy McNamara from Sportsnet, NFL fantasy sports analyst. We'll get into NFL Week 14, fantasy football advice, thoughts on all the latest news of the day. If you have a question, if you have a thought, you could jump in there. Send us your thoughts and comments as well on the NFL, the Sixers, the NBA, and more. Next with Andy McNamara right here with me. I'm Josh Hennig, and this is Game Night on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Maxey to Harris, what a slam by Tobias Harris, right down Broad Street, a two-hand slam.
The Sixers host the Utah Jazz. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot, but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night. We'll get into NFL Week 14 tonight. Steelers versus Vikings. Of course, you can hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, we are joined every Thursday by my favorite Canadian, Andy McNamara from Sportsnet. And, of course, he joins us thanks to Jim Malamet at Green Tree Mortgage. Your best play to refinance today. Jim Malamet at Green Tree Mortgage, proud sponsor of our weekly conversations with the one and only Andy McNamara, joining us right now here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. As for the majority of people out there, Andy, this is the final regular season week before the fantasy playoffs. So this is a big deal this week for a lot of people.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. This is it. This is the point where maybe it's that final push to the playoffs. Maybe it's the seeding. Maybe, Josh, and this can be just as fun, folks. Okay, you finish strong, ruin one of your league mates' season. Kick them out of the play. That can be just as satisfying, right? If you can't be in, take down your friends.
Listen, I had that happen to me last week. So I'm in the playoffs no matter what. You know, the way the two leagues I'm in are, I'm pretty much in. I don't know what seed I am yet, but I'm pretty much in. But last week I beat two people in each league, one each league, who they were kind of like fringe. And the one person I completely forgot to set their lineup. So I crushed the one person. The other person, I basically won because I had the Patriots defense. So,
yeah,
you know, but still, that's the one thing I got to say to people. Guys, if you're going to commit to a fantasy league, especially if you're spending money, set your lineup.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
For the sake of anything holy and sacred, have some respect for yourself and for everybody else in the league.
If you made the commitment, even if you're a fringe one or you were talked into it or whatever, just finish and keep that integrity, like you said. Just have some pride. Take joy in ruining your other friends' time. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Have that.
There's a little selfish satisfaction too, because the guy who I beat last week, who didn't set his lineup properly, is the same one who vetoed my trade I sent him that would have benefited both of us. So, okay,
nice.
You have a shot to make the postseason. You veto the trade. The trade you would have made with me would have helped you beat me this past weekend. But this guy decided not to set his lineup properly, and he vetoed the trade, and now he's out of the postseason because, well,
it's his own
karma.
fault. It's his own fault. Despicable, John. I'm glad you crushed him. Whatever his name is, boo. Boo! Let's all get a thumbs down, everybody. No, exactly. I'm glad. Fantasy karma, gotcha. But this is it, man. Like it's the last week of buys, and then the playoffs start because we have, as we remember, that one extra game this year.
Yeah, and of course that one extra game, everyone wants to stay away from that game when it comes to fantasy. So let's get into NFL Week 14. First of all, start tonight. Andy, what do you tell people about the Vikings situation? Because Dalvin Cook is supposed to play tonight, but for a lot of people, they picked up Andrew Madison, be like, hey, if Dalvin Cook, he played great last week, what do you do?
Here's the thing. I'm playing Madison no matter what. I'm doing like the draft day thing, John, where you write down where Sonny Weaver Jr. wrote down the green piece of paper. I got the coaster right there. I got the Sonny Weaver draft day. You write down Madison no matter what. And I'll tell you why. The reason is I've seen Dalvin Cook throughout this year and really sort of throughout his career. The dude, he's super tough. He'll play hurt, but he'll also be limited at times. A perfect example is when they played the Browns earlier in the year. He was almost in an exact same situation as he was now. Maybe game time decision kind of gets put in. Well, what happens? Well, he plays a few snaps, gets a breather. And Madison had a nice game. I think this is still a case. Now, you downgrade your expectations across the board here, But I would feel totally fine with my fantasy expectation of Madison now of a lower RB2 and a flex with big time upside. Madison's a stud. We're not talking about some scrub who's they're just picking up off the practice squad. This guy, when he's given the chance, produces. And I think he's going to have a chance to do that tonight.
Now, on the flip side, the Steelers, they won last week, but Ben Roethlisberger may have had his best game of the year, and guys are dropping balls. So,
yeah,
I feel like, how is Ben going to turn around this quickly at his age without the bullets left in the chamber? I feel like the Steelers' entire offense is a no-go tonight.
Yeah, like the only play, if you have Najee Harris, you're going to have to play him. Simply because who else are you going to get? I would find it hard to believe anybody who has Najee Harris as their starting running back is going to have a true viable option to replace him with. So I think Najee Harris is the guy you go to no matter what. I also think Deontay Johnson in PPR only. Guy has been really good. He's been really good. Pat Freiermuth was disappointing last week. Overall, we've seen Ben sort of go towards him. So with how thin the tight end position group is, I might maybe as a cheaper DraftKings play, maybe I put Freiermuth in. I'm not going to feel comfortable with it, but you have to look, what are my other options going to be? Like an injured, maybe Ricky Seals-Jones on the weekend with Washington? You might have to take that route. So I would say the only Pittsburgh options, Deontay Johnson if you're PPR, Najee Harris no matter what in as a running back, and then if you do need a tight end streamer, you go with Freiermuth.
All right, of course, Steelers, Vikings tonight, folks. You hear the action on 97.3 ESPN tonight following Sixers versus Jazz. We get a doubleheader here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Andy, here's some other things. One name that we brought up earlier on 97.3 ESPN that people are keeping an eye on, Deebo Samuel. I understand that he's not expected to play this week, but he did work out on the side during the media portion of practice. So he's a DMP. He's not supposed to play this week. But what are you suggesting people should do with Deebo?
Well, I'm a Deebo owner in one of my leagues, Josh. So I'm living this. I'm living this, and it sucks because I need in this league. I'm in the playoffs, but I could really use one win, and I can pop up 3 spots. So I really was hoping Deebo would go. Kyle Shanahan also being vague. Remember, folks, Kyle Shanahan, Sean Payton, and Bill Belichick hate your fantasy team. They hate it, and they hate you for being a fantasy owner. Don't believe a word they say. He's like, oh, maybe. Get out of here, Kyle. You're not playing Deebo. Stop it. Stop it. He's not playing. What you do is you keep Deebo on your bench, and if he is progressing, as it looks like he is, you will hope that next week, when it comes playoff time, he's ready to rumble, and he gets you a ton of fantasy points. Guys who you might want to try to be able to replace Deebo Samuel with for this week. I think it's in this Thursday nighter, Josh. I'm loving myself some KJ Osborne without Adam Thielen. Remember, this guy early in the year, first 2 weeks of the year, and then 2 other times, he was awesome in fantasy football. He went off mid to high teens, 3 touchdowns on the year, cooled off as Justin Jefferson, Thielen came back in and all that. But especially with an injured Dalvin Cook, who's not going to be at full capacity, I feel this is a really good KJ Osborne day. Cheap DraftKings play, and also, as of right now, still available or rostered in only 37% of ESPN leagues. You can get him in your lineup tonight. So if you have a concern about any wide receiver, KJ Osborne is a great play.
You mentioned Kyle Shanahan. The 49ers running back situation is the other thing I'm curious about because Elijah Mitchell, he's dealing with a concussion. He didn't practice today. Jeff Wilson, he's expected to be back, but we're not 100% sure. Michael Hasty, I feel like he's had one good game, and then he's fallen off the face of the earth. And then you never know when Kyle Juszczyk is going to come in there and vulture something from somebody. So do you trust any of these 49ers running backs at this point?
No. If you look at the depth chart, it's all red. It's all red. There's even Trenton Cannon. Remember him? He's floating around somewhere there too. It's really tough because we've seen Elijah Mitchell put up amazing numbers while being injured. So what does that look like? How does that? I would try the situation again, similar to Najee Harris. If you have Eli Mitchell, you spent those 90 plus fab bucks early in the year. You're going to play him. You're going to have to play him unless it shows that he's out. But if I had my choice, I would not touch that situation in San Francisco. The only players that I would want to start for the 49ers right now with Deebo Samuel, who's going to miss the game, is Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. And that's it.
Andy McNamara from Sportsnet joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at AndyMC81 on Twitter. Give him a follow for your NFL and fantasy sports analysis. Andy, a guy who's supposed to be back this week. It looks like Alvin Kamara is going to play his practice 2 straight days. That's the good news. The bad news is he's coming back to an offense that's the shell of the team that he used to be before he left. And Mark Ingram's supposed to be out because he's on the COVID list. So I get it. Alvin Kamara, people are excited, but should we temper expectations?
Well, the tricky thing is, and again, it's good questions you're asking, Josh, because I've been researching these because I have Alvin Kamara. Actually, I made a trade for him for Tyreek Hill, even when he was banged up, because I was hoping this type of situation in that final week or two of the regular season and then push to the fantasy playoffs so I can take advantage. So I'm really hoping it works. I think with Alvin Kamara, you don't visualize him having those super dominant RB1 numbers. But is he going to be a guy who could get into the end zone? Yep. Get a lot of catches, more helpful in PPR or half PPR? Yes. I still think he is probably more of a back-end RB1, but we know in fantasy football this year, with all these committees, you get any sort of RB1, you're loving it. So there's not a lot of options, and I just see hopefully a lot of checkdowns and a lot of work for Alvin Kamara, who was it, Taysom Hill with a finger injury on his throat. It doesn't matter. Taysom Hill could have his hand in a cast. He can't throw the football anyway. Doesn't matter for Taysom Hill. You know how I feel about Taysom Hill.
Listen, I say they should just run the triple option offense like Army and Navy are going to on Saturday and just be done with it. I mean,
you know what? I think Alvin Kamara, for any of you wrestling fans, remember the old early 90s Mr. Perfect vignettes where he would throw the football to himself and sprint down the field. I think Alvin Kamara should Mr. Perfect it and throw and catch and run all of it himself.
I mean, maybe Kamara should be the quarterback and Taysom Hill should be the running back. I don't know.
That might make sense. This Saints offense is just it's broken. I don't know what they're going to do.
But they're playing the Jets. So what do we do? Like,
that's the good thing. It's still just Kamara. And you know what? As much as you don't want, Ingram to be, say, real life wise, you want him to be well and all that, but him being out is good because otherwise you could have a whole bunch of muddied situation there. We know it's going to be Kamara. That's the only Saints player I want any part of this week.
Andy, did you hear what the Jets defense coordinator said on Tuesday? He came out, Jeff Ulbrich, which is amazing. I didn't realize he was the Jets defense coordinator, but he used to play in the NFL as a linebacker. For those who don't remember, he came out and said the Jets had 15 missed tackles in the game on Sunday versus the Eagles. And I'm sitting there thinking, so did the Eagles offense do well or the Jets defense really that bad? Like, so it's like, it might be both. I don't know. But so to me, it's like, if I'm Sean Payton, I just throw my offense out the window. I go triple option offense and I just tell the Jets to stop me because you can't tackle me.
Exactly. The Jets are a absolute train wreck. We know this, right? This is actually the ideal opponent to bring Alvin Kamara back. Not like he's going to have to get face some super stout, tough D. Yeah, get your legs underneath you. Have some fun. Pad those stats for yourself and for fantasy owners. Like this is as great as a situation as you can have. But yeah, like moving forward, Josh, when we look at the Saints, like for next year, I don't know what the heck they're going to do with that weird Taysom Hill contract and whatever else. I don't know.
I don't know either. Another New York team that's kind of a mess right now is the New York Giants.
Yeah.
The good news is Sterling Shepard and Kenny Golladay practiced, which is good news. It looks like that Kadarius Toney is doubtful to play on Sunday, but it might not matter because if your quarterback is Mike Glennon or Jake Fromm, I don't really think that that's a great fantasy option. Am I wrong?
No, really, the Giants in general are not a great fantasy option, period, even with Daniel Jones, although you do have a bit more of a chance. No, like I was reading it too where the Giants were saying, oh, we hope we can get Mike Glennon. It's like, wow, how bad is Jake Fromm, man? Mike Glennon, it's like you're watching a windmill because he's like 6'9", and that longest, slowest windup and delivery in the NFL. Just terrible. You don't want any piece of these Giants wide receivers, guys. You don't want any of them. All the names, all whatever. Are you going to rely maybe on a fantasy playoff berth, seeding, whatever, on Mike Glennon's arm? I don't want to think of that. Like, really, Josh, if we're looking at, I always try to find like one piece of a team, try to be fair for a fantasy one. Who do you want to rely on? Do you want to rely on Saquon Barkley? No.
Not this year.
No, not this year at all. Ingram, the tight end, no. Like, there's nothing likable. On the other side, against the Chargers, you absolutely smash the Chargers. Now, their problem is, of course, got a lot of COVID stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, a play you might want to look at this week, Joshua Palmer from Canada. He's from the Toronto area, out of Tennessee. Under the radar guy. I'm not saying the guy's going to be a superstar, but we watch a bit of his game tape and some of the combines. I kind of like him. I think this is a guy with his bit of size. He's quick. I think he's deceptively fast. He could make some noise with Justin Herbert, and maybe this is a breakout day, a sneaky tight end play day for Jared Cook because of the limited options that he is going to have at wide receiver.
Andy McNamara joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. NFL Week 14 begins tonight. Steelers versus Vikings. This Sunday, the Titans have a bunch of running backs, but I don't know who's actually going to get the ball halftime. I mean, is it Hilliard? Is it Foreman? I mean, I thought I saw a report that McNichols actually practiced today, even though he's
in.
Not, so, like, what do you do with the running back situation in Tennessee?
Yeah, excellent question. Now, I was anticipating McNichols coming back because it was trending that way when my Tuesday Sportsnet.ca weekly waiver wire article came out. And this is the play. This is how I'm going to do it, Josh. We have to look at when you're in this committee situation, and we always talk, you try to avoid it. Sometimes you can't. So in this case, what's the role? What's the job of these running backs? Well, the job of Dontrell Hilliard was an emergency practice squad call-up who balled out as a third down pass catching back. Right. Why? Because Jeremy McNichols was out. Okay, well, McNichols is coming back in, and you're still going to have Hilliard. So to me, that says, all right, they're going to split that type of work. Who's left alone? First two downs, and if it's close, Donta Foreman. I think Foreman is the play here. Early in the week, he was owned in less than 42% of ESPN leagues. I'm not quite sure what it's at now. But that's a guy, again, where you have Julio Jones. He's designated to return from IR. The passing game is just a shell. There's nobody on Tennessee, so you're going to want to run the football as much as possible. So I think Foreman is the guy out of that three-headed monster.
A couple more before I let you go. Is James Robinson turning into a no start at this point?
Oh, boy. That's tough. I'm still going to say no. I still think you play him. I know he's had some fumbles. I know, does it just seem Urban Meyer is just lost?
I think he hates him. I really think he just doesn't like the dude.
But Josh, when he said, he admitted to reporters that he was like, yeah, we should have ran more, and we should not like in the usual sense of, I need to do better, but that he lost track of his own offense. Like the reporter made a point. He was like, I didn't think of it like that. Who says that? What NFL coach is like, actually, Mr. Reporter, that's a great point. I should have done that. He's totally lost. It's a bit unpredictable. I still think you go with Robinson because is Carlos Hyde going to be running all day long? I hope not. I don't think so. Titans defense too, really injured. So hopefully Urban Meyer can corral whatever madness he has in his mind and he can put it on James Robinson. It's not a safe play, Josh, not at all. It's not safe, but I still think he got the talent and he's proven enough that if given the opportunity, which isn't guaranteed, that he can produce. So I still think you put him in as an RB2 type of guy.
Yeah, I know it's not fantasy football related, but I just got to say this. I'm still not convinced that Urban Meyer is going to last in Jacksonville. I just have no, I don't know what's going on down there. Like, the dude is constantly getting in pictures with random women out and
Did he get another one?
I think there's 3 now. There's been 3 different incidents at this point.
What a guy.
I'm losing. I feel like they're all
go live your life, Herb.
It's like it's all blurring together. I mean, this is the same guy who told us he quit football the last 2 times to spend time with his family, right? That was the reason why he left Florida and Ohio State. And now he's I don't know what he's doing down there. I feel like he doesn't know what time or day it is. Like, I mean, I feel like the guy, I think Urban Meyer had an idea of what the NFL was. and then he got there and he realized that he's actually in hell, that he's not in the NFL.
No. Yeah, he did something wrong. He woke up and like, he kind of is in NFL hell. He's in Jacksonville, right? Is he in Jacksonville, the Jets, or somewhere like that?
Really quick. So anybody who knows comics, or at least you watch the movie Ghost Rider, the whole point of the Ghost Rider is he makes a deal with the devil, and that's how he gets the abilities. I feel like Urban Meyer is the guy who made the deal with the devil, then he realized what he walked into. Like, I feel like Urban is like, oh, this is a great idea, and someone handed him like a pen with a curse on it or something. You know what I mean?
Like a flaming pen.
Now he's in Jacksonville, and he's like, where did I sign up for? I mean, for goodness sake, the owner of the Jags runs a better pro wrestling organization than he does a football team. Like, the AEW is great. It's a great product, but he's like the worst version of Jerry Jones. Like, Jerry Jones at least gets a competitive football team on the field. Shad Khan is like, his mustache is better than his football team.
And AEW is legit. Oh man, I watched Dynamite last night. I'll tell you, that MJF, that's the best heel in pro wrestling today. You can count that. But this is it's a great example, Josh. Because the wrestling side is going great. Maybe they need to incorporate some characters, some fun storylines, make it interesting.
Make it the XFL all over again or something.
Something like Urban Meyer. I can if I had a way to guarantee or whatever, if there was a wager to place, I would bet a lot that by the end of next year, Urban Meyer gets his headaches back and he boot skis on his own. They let him save face. He leaves on his own from Jacksonville. No way does he make it after next year. He's totally lost. Josh, he's the most recent example of a star college coach who's used to doing the recruiting, the controlling. If a college player doesn't listen to you, you can bench him and ruin his professional life. In the NFL, they're like, I make more than you do, dude. See ya. What do I, it's a different mindset, and it's not working for Herb.
It's not working for Trevor Lawrence either. People were asking him questions today, and the look on his face was like, what am I doing here? What?
Yeah. Sunshine. Not so shiny right now, is he? No. Yeah, not so good.
Listen, man, ain't no sunshine when it's gone. It's
that's like, he's not that offense is broken. I don't know if it's I don't think it's Trevor Lawrence's fault. The guy's been a stud at every level in his life.
No, it's not his fault.
But again, you think of it this way. You trot Urban Meyer back next year unless the headaches get accelerated, quotations, after this season. Trevor Lawrence is going to stink next year too. Then what happens is you bring in the other coach. Okay, well, now you're year 3. Then you have to learn that system. Then you're year 4, and you have to make a decision on year 5. Trevor Lawrence's career is in real jeopardy from being a true star.
Well, listen, Jalen Hurts has gone through about 5 offenses in about 6 years, but no one seems to want to give him slack. So I guess we got to throw Trevor Lawrence under the bus too because of that.
That's right. I love Jalen, and you know what, Josh? He's the offense. It's adjusting. He is. As the track that maybe it wasn't the direction, maybe it wasn't the way, but the destination we wanted Jalen Hurts to get to at the beginning of this season, I think he's on his path to. Not a polished product, not totally finished, but I like the progression. I like how the offense is developing and going around him. I hope they give him more time because I really think that can be the Eagles guy.
At AndyMC81 on Twitter. Give him a follow for all your NFL and fantasy sports analysis. Of course, Andy's got the fantasy show on Sunday mornings.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Sunday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern on the Sportsnet Radio Network. And guys, for the one-of-a-kind sports NFTs, you hear all the NFT stuff? Go to ultimatesportsnfts.com. Check that stuff out.
There you go. Andy, always appreciate you jumping on. I'll catch up with you next week.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later.
Of course, Andy's appearance here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN being brought to you by Jim Malamet at Green Tree Mortgage. Your best play to refinance today. It's Jim Malamet at Green Tree Mortgage. All right, on the other side, we'll wrap up the show and we'll get you ready for Sixers versus Jazz tonight. Hear all the action. Tom McGinnis on the call at 7 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. And then following that, Thursday football, Steelers and Vikings.
Kevin Kugler from Westwood One with a preview of Thursday Night Football and a battle of playoff bubble teams, the Steelers at the Vikings. Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh moved to the top of the AFC bubble last week with a win over the Ravens, while Kirk Cousins in Minnesota need to end a 2-game slide to reverse their diminishing NFC postseason prospects. Join Tony Baselli and me for the call on Thursday Night Football.
Listen to Thursday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. The retail sportsbook features 5 betting windows, a large video wall, a sports ticker, 20 self-service betting kiosks, and more, including various lounge seats. Get your game face on, score big tonight and all weekend long when you bet the FanDuel Sportsbook only at Bally's, Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, before we get out of here, obviously Sixers basketball coming up in just a few minutes here. Tom McGinnis on the call right here on your home for Sixers basketball, 97.3 ESPN FM. Couple things I want to hit on. First of all, when it comes to Sixers, like I said, I expect them to lose this game tonight. I'd be surprised if they win it. The Jazz are a very good team, but it doesn't mean the Sixers are completely, dead and, cooked. I just feel like this team is just, they just don't have the ammunition, man. They don't have the firepower. They don't have the ammunition right now. And it just is what it is, right? So, like I said, I'm rocking with it's currently -3 over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. The Jazz. I think they win by probably 6 points tonight, maybe 10 points. I think the Sixers will be dragging coming off of a back-to-back road at home situation. And then with the Raiders-Vikings game tonight, the Steelers-Vikings game tonight, it's a game where you're hoping that the Steelers win. I just don't know if they can win. I told Andy McNamara this earlier. I think Ben Roethlisberger doesn't have it on a game in and game out basis. I feel like he's an older player who can't reach back and give you his best game every night. I remember at the end of a guy like, Jack Morris's career, right? Jack Morris was a guy who, when he was in his prime, he'd go out there and give you, 7, 8, 9 innings, night in and night out. But that final seasons when he was pitching with the Blue Jays and the Indians and the Twins, and you could just tell he didn't have it anymore on a night-to-night basis. But, that 93 season when the Blue Jays won their second World Series, Jack would go out there and he'd throw a complete game one night, and then the next night, he'd give up 4 runs in 5 innings. And I feel like Ben Roethlisberger is the same guy. Him and Jack Morris are the same to me at this point. He goes out there one game, has a great game. 8 innings, 6 strikeouts. Next game, 5 innings, 6 runs. So I feel like that's who Ben Roethlisberger is. I just don't have a lot of confidence in the Steelers to win tonight. I think the Steelers only have a chance to win tonight is if their defense really steps up and Najee Harris goes off. Otherwise, I feel like this is a Vikings win tonight. All right, we'll be back tomorrow for a Friday edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig, at Josh Hennig on Twitter. Of course, tomorrow is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill from 2 to 6, and then we'll be on at 6 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers, Jazz, Tom Mingus on the call. Next.